Okay, you're on.
Okay, good morning, Tom. This is the Gene and Charlie Watson's farm up on Catamount Mountain in Pittsfield, New Hampshire. My name is Dan Schroth, and it's Tom Adamson behind the camera. And we're actually on the farm. We're at the Baptist Cemetery. It's an old cemetery dating back, I think, to the 1700s. And how we got here was Charlie had sold me some ledge rock from out back in 2006, and we got an excavator up here and moved quite a bit of rock. And he had told me that he wanted to do a little work on the cemetery up on the hill. Maybe he'd get a place for him and Gene's ashes someday, and maybe a stone. And so I told him I'd try to do something. I'd come back, and we did come back. We came back with a diversion program, state of New Hampshire, some hoodlums, and they helped us out for a day. Must have been 20 of them. We did a lot of brush work. We restacked some of this wall, and anyway, we spent a day doing that. We put a back entrance into the cemetery because we were going to do an addition someday. And several years, and then at that time I told Charlie that I'd come back and maybe do the addition and maybe do the entranceway here. So I did come back maybe in August of 2013. It's now September 2013. And started working on the entrance and built the addition in the back of the cemetery to enclose the Russian that was built there, Uriushin, and the Watsons coming up when they're ready to have their ashes. They want to stay right here on Tucker Hill. So if you'd like, Tom, we could go through the cemetery and go all the way to the end, and I'll show you the addition. Very good.
Okay, what do we see here, Dan?
This is some old headstones right here. Various people from Pittsfield, I'm pretty sure. There's bachelors in here. There's berries in here. There's some very old headstones right here. These almost might be the oldest. And they're really hard to read. It looks like around 1819. That's a really interesting headstone right here. These two look like they could be the oldest of the cemetery. And then if you walk over here, you'll see the Berries and the Browns and the Levitts. You know, a lot of Pittsfield names right there.
This one was 1865.
1865, yeah. That looks like a newer headstone.
Yeah. Here's one 1870.
And then if you come over here, these are my nearest relatives, the Tuckers. My great aunt Lou Tucker sold the farm in Pittsfield to my dad in the early 60s, and that's how come I ended up in these parts. And when we got here, this was fallen down from this large pine right here. It had tilted the monument over, which we have put up. And then we follow. Now there's a lot of unmarked graves we feel in this cemetery. There's a headstone here, for instance, leaning against the wall. And there's several headstones up there leaning against the wall. So what this means is there's a lot of unmarked territory in this cemetery. Or unmarked graves, I should say.
Okay, where are we going now?
We're going to go to the back of the cemetery. This is the entrance that we did many, many years ago. We broke this stone wall right here and kind of built these ends. And we built this stone addition right here for a couple reasons. Uriushin, the Russian, he was buried here in 1978.
So he was buried as a Russian citizen?
Well, I don't know what his citizenship was, but he wanted to be buried in New Hampshire. His family was thinking of putting him in the Jewish cemetery in Boston, but his desire, because he knew he was dying, was to end up in New Hampshire. So they buried him outside the cemetery, and someday they said, well, we're going to build a wall around this guy. And finally that day came. July and August I worked up here, and we built this stone wall right along here, and we got a rock we can trim with a saw a little to put a plaque for the Watsons. We hope to bury their ashes right there.
And so this is Uri's headstone,
This is Uri Yushin's headstone. Yeah,
1943 to
1978 it looks like.
1978.
Yeah, and he loved New Hampshire, and that's where he wanted to be buried, and he got some assistance from the Watson family, and he wound up here.
Okay,
Yeah, if you want to take a look around the wall we built.
okay.
This was 15 days of myself and about 5 days of help, and the town sent a backhoe up here, which helped me a great deal. And then take a shot back at the cemetery, the first entrance way up. That looks kind of
Okay.
nice from here. Yeah. And so, if you can't get buried in a cemetery, the next best thing is you build an addition to the cemetery. And actually, I would hope I may spend eternity here, because this little spot right here isn't taken up near the wall, that corner. And I hope maybe my remains, my ashes will end up here, but it is first come, first serve. So thank you, Tom. I hope that answers and shows the people what we did up here on Tucker Hill.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Tom.